In this video, we will cover some basics of building DAT filters. We will create some sample filters to demonstrate this functionality. Let's start by looking at the DAT filter documentation. The DAT filter can be initialized from a DAT query or from a list of records. We will go through building DAT filters from a list of records. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. So we have to navigate to the list and then click on the filter funnel icon. So for the first filter, I'm going to look for all applicants who are applying for grades 9 through 12. So I'll check for the status of applicant and applying for grades in grades 9 through 12. So let me go to my list. So I'm here under admissions inquiries / applicants, and I'll go ahead and click the funnel icon here. And next I'm going to go ahead and click the adding DAT filter condition. So because I'm creating a new DAT filter, I have to use the new filter selector to add a new filter item. So I'm going to go ahead and go back here, and from this drop down I'm going to select new filter. So the next step is to add conditions. So if I click the adding conditions, I can go to the table and I can add the conditions for a status of applicant and applying for grades in 9 through 12. So I'll click the table here. And through the condition drop down, I can go ahead and look for status equals applicant, and I'll click the add button to add a condition. And I'm going to look for applying for grades in 9 through 12. So I'm going to come here, select applying for grade, and then use the multi-select operator and select grades 9, 10, 11, and 12 and add my second condition. Now that I've added both of my conditions, I can hit save, and it'll use these conditions to create this filter. So at this point, if I want, I can save my filter, or I can add other conditions. So instead of saving the filter right now, I'm actually going to add more information to my filter, more criteria. So let's say that now I'm looking for anyone who's an applicant in grades 9 through 12 or anyone who is an international applicant. To do that, I can go back to my inquiries table, and I already have a status of applicant and applying for grade conditions, so I can go ahead and add the condition for international. So I can select international yes or no equals Y. And so I'm looking for anyone who is an applicant in grades 9 through 12 or who is an international applicant. So here I can put my logical condition. So I can say 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. So this will mean that I'm looking for, because 1 is my status, so I'm looking for anyone who's an applicant in these grade levels or anyone who's an international applicant. So I can go ahead and hit save again. Now if I was done with this filter, I could actually hit save and save the filter so that I can use it in the future. But instead of doing that, I'm actually going to add a new condition. So I'm going to look for anyone who has completed their application, meaning that anyone who has an action of application complete. And I'll keep my original criteria as is, but basically I'm just going to add another condition to look for applicants who have actually completed their application, meaning that they have completed all the application requirements. So application completed action is in the inquiry actions table. So I wouldn't be able to find it through the inquiries table. I would need to go ahead and add a new table so that I can pull the action information. So I'll go back to my documentation, and it has a link on how to connect tables, so I'll go ahead and click here. So to connect tables, it says to click the plus icon, and then I can select with or without, and it explains what each one does. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my filter and click the plus icon. And because actions live in the inquiry actions table, I'm going to select that table. So in the action description, I'll go ahead and set that to application complete. So for just putting the action may not be enough. I would also want to make sure that I'm looking for the action in the correct year, because someone may have applied last year and completed the application but may not have been accepted. So I may want to look at the action that has been completed for the current admissions year. So in order to do that, I can go to academic year, and I could potentially hard code it to a particular year, but in order to make my filter dynamic so that I don't have to update each year, I can actually use a dynamic condition such as academic year admissions and set that to current year. And in this last drop down, this is where I would select my admissions division, which is this in my case. So I'll go ahead and add this condition and click save. So now I have my original conditions of applicant who's applying for grades 9 through 12 or applicant who's an international applicant, and the filter is now also checking to make sure that they have an action of application complete in the current admissions year. So now I'm actually ready to save the filter, so I'm going to go ahead and click save here, and I'll give it a name. And then I can select all divisions if I want this filter to show up across all my divisions. And I can select roles that users have who can access this query. So if I select admissions full, then any user within admissions full role will be able to see my filter. So I'm going to go ahead and click save new. And the instructions to save are also found in this article. When we click the saving DAT filter, it'll walk you through how to save the filter just like how I did it. For my next filter, I'm going to build a query that looks for students who have not submitted their contract in the next academic year. So because this is a student-based filter, I'm going to move to admin students and click the filter icon. And then from here I'll select new filter. And because I'm looking for anyone who has not submitted the contract, and contract submitted is an action in the system, I need to use the student actions table because action information is not found in the student info table. So I'm going to go ahead and click plus here, and then I'll go to student actions, And from here I can set the action description equals contract submitted. And because I'm looking to see who has not submitted the contract in the next academic year, I can select academic year and make it a dynamic condition. So I can pick academic year operator, and instead of setting it to current, I can set it to 1 year later. And I can pick my admissions division and click add. Then I can hit save to add my conditions. Now keep in mind that I'm looking for anyone who does not have this action in this academic year. So if I were to save it, by default it'll look for students who have that action. So in order to make it a must not have condition, I need to click the add button here. And now here I can change the condition to must not have. And then I can go ahead and save my filter, and it'll find any student who doesn't have the contract submitted action in the next academic year. For my last filter, I'm going to look for students who want to volunteer for bake sale, and that information is stored in attributes. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this filter, and then I'll do a new filter from here. And because the information that I'm referring to is stored in attributes, so attributes would be any sort of custom fields that you may have. So in my example, I have an attribute in my database called volunteer options, and within that attribute there's a comment or a value field that has the bake sale value. So whenever students were selecting what opportunities they want to volunteer for, some of them selected bake sale. So because that information resides in attributes, I can go ahead and click the plus sign here. So from student info, I'm going to go ahead and connect student attribute. And then from student attribute, when I click this drop down, I see different fields, but I don't see the name of the attribute. So I see the comment and other information, and comment is where my the value called bake sale resides. So I'm going to put the condition of bake sale here in the comment. And click add. But I still need to specify which attribute I'm referring to, and the name of the attribute is volunteer options. So because it doesn't exist here, I'm just gonna hit save, and then from student attribute table, I'm gonna go click the plus sign and go to the attributes table. This table has the list or the names of the attributes, so I can click the drop down and select the attribute description field, and here I can select the name of the attribute, which is called volunteer options, and I can click add and then click save. So at this time I could save my filter, and it'll find all students who selected volunteer options, and in volunteer options they selected bake sale. But if I wanted to find any student who had not selected bake sale, I could simply click the add button and set must have to must not have, and then save the filter. This wraps up our video of creating basic DAT filters.